Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial this evening. I am very excited to have every one of us here. So in this video we will be looking at 4 different functions. We'll be looking at the AND function, we'll be looking at the OR function, we'll be looking at the IF and the AND function. So basically we are going to be combining the IF function which we learned a while ago with the AND function which we are about to learn. And then we will also learn how to combine the IF function with the OR function that we'll be learning today for the first time. So for those who are just joining for the first time, I want to explain this table and what it is used for or what it is all about. This table is actually it contains the information of members, donors to a particular organization. So here we have their names, first and last names. We have their agendas here, their email addresses, the sectors where they work, the date when they joined, when they became members or when they became donors, the donations they have made in pounds, the city where they live. I created this extra column. That is where we'll be doing several analysis as we answer these questions and attempt the examples. So we will be using these functions that we are going to learn today to analyze this table. So the first function we'll be looking at is the AND function. What is the AND function? What is it used for? It is actually used to compare two cells, basically two or more cells, and if both of them are true, it returns true. If both of them are false, it returns false. So the function says, hey, I am comparing two conditions, two cells, and if both of them are true, both of them, not just one of them, both of them have to be true before the AND function can return true. If any of them is false, the AND function will return false in that case. Okay, so we are going to look at a few examples as we have here. So quickly, let us look at this example. The first example here says we should, let us zoom that in a little bit. It says we should identify people who are in the liberal professions and live in London. So how are we going to identify them? It is going to return true if they belong to the liberal profession and they live in London. So that's what it's going to do. So we are going to come here and write our AND function. So how does the syntax look like? Let us zoom in a little bit again, and then we hit our equal to and we say AND. And once we enter our bracket, it shows us the syntax. It says, excuse me, the AND function, first of all, you add your logical one, the test you are applying to the cell, and then the second one, and so forth and so on. Okay, so the question we are considering says that we want to identify people who are in the liberal professions and live in London. So we are going to say, where do we have the professions? E, so we will say E2 equals, open our quotation mark, let's come over here, zoom in a little bit, we say liberal professions, don't mind, it's not case sensitive, and then they live in London, so that will be H2 equal to London, and that is it. And so once we hit our enter key, it will fill everything. We have false for everyone who doesn't fulfill that condition. This person here is actually belongs to the liberal professions, but because the person is not in London, the person is in Manchester, we have false. But our first true here, the person belongs to the liberal profession and lives in London. The next true is this, in both cases, liberal profession and London. Here we have this person stays in London but is not in the liberal profession. So that is what the AND function is used for in both cases. Now, let me just jump to the if and if plus and. What if I don't want to return true false, because basically that's the only thing the AND function returns. It either returns a true or it returns a false if the condition is false, if any of the cells doesn't pass the test, as it were. So what if I don't want to return true or false? I want to return something else. For example, I am trying to select someone who belongs to the liberal profession and lives in London. So I want to say selected. And if the person or any cell or any row that doesn't fulfill this condition, I just want to leave it blank. I will add the if function. I will wrap everything here in the if function. So if we remember the if function, let me just come down here and write the if function. Sorry about that. Escape. So let us say let's write the if function. Remember what the if function says. First logical test, and then it is going to say whether it is true or not. So I am going to wrap my AND function as my first logical test, and then tell it what to do if that is true, or tell it what else to say. Let's write that again. So I'm going to say this is going to be my AND function. So if it turns out to be true, return this value if true, and if it is not true, return this other value. So let's go back to our answer here. So I will wrap this up, everything here, as my logical test. So I'm going to say if, and then I open up my bracket. So everything here is my first logical test, and if it returns true, I want it to say selected. And if the value is false, I just want it to return a blank space. So I just add 2 quotation mark, nothing in between, and then I close my bracket. And once I hit enter, you see everywhere the situation, or rather the result, is false, it returns a blank cell. And everywhere the result is true, I have selected. I think this in a way is even better. I can sort using this and all that. Yes, there are better ways of doing this. There is a simpler way of using the AND function. Yeah, the AND function. We can decide to sort using our filter, but for the sake of knowledge, it's very important we learn how to do this. Okay, let's look at the second example. Let's hit our enter and get out of there. Let's look at the second example. The second example says that we should choose all men in the services sector who joined in, let's add that, who joined in 2020, who became members actually in 2020 or later. So 3 conditions actually. First, they have to be men. Next, they have to be in the services sector, and next they have to have joined in 2020 or later. So let us replace everything we have here with the function. Let me delete what we have here, and then we replace with this new example. So we want to choose all men in the services sector who joined at those dates. Okay, who joined 2020 and later. So before we continue, I would want to convert this date to just a year. I want to extract the years from this. Okay, so let me come here and do it. Well, let's just do it somewhere here, and we insert a new column where we will just call that we'll just call that year. Let's delete everything here. We'll just call this year. So we want to extract the years from here. So we say equal to year, and we select this date. We want it to become just the year. And once we hit enter, it's actually formatted as accounting, so we'll have to reformat the entire column. Let's just format it as general number, and that's fine. So everything here has been converted as year. So we just have 2021 here, 2028, which is actually correct. So now we want to test. We want to find out all the men who joined in 2020 or later. So we'll do exactly the same thing. First of all, so we say and. Let's come up here and zoom a little bit. So we say and, open a bracket, and first of all, it have to be men. That's C. So we say C2 equals M. Okay. The next, people who joined in 2020 or later, all the men in the services sector, right? Let us see that. Yeah, services sector. So we come here. E2 has to be, that's E2, beg your pardon, has to be what? Services. So services, don't mind I'm combining both the uppercase and lowercase, don't bother about that. It's actually not going to affect our result. So first condition, males. Second condition, services, and they have to have joined 2020 or later. So H2 needs to be greater than or equal to 2020, and we close our brackets. three conditions now, and once we hit, it fills everything for the other rows. So let us check one of the conditions. Here we have true. Why do we have true? This is a male. This person is in the services sector and joined in 2020. You can just scroll down, or we can just sort. The next true, there are very few of them, too bad. Let's just sort, and then we say true. All right, so just a few of them. All of them is either 2020 or 2021, and all of them are in the service sector, and they are all males. Let's remove the sorting. Okay, so that's for the AND function. We use it to return something true or false if all conditions are met. Now, as we did earlier for the first example, let us combine the if and now we're having false, true, true and false. What if I just want to say selected or not selected, or I just want to say yes, no, something like that. I just want to return something. Okay, so let us wrap this up. So we are going to say if, and then we wrap this up, and then comma. So value if true, I could just say identified, and for this I could leave it blank. I like leaving it blank. Yeah, so I have a problem. Identified is not in quotes, so I have to make sure I put it in quotes, and that solves it. Just a few of them are identified to have fulfilled all the conditions. 2020 services male, just very few of them. Okay, now let's go to the OR function. How do we use the OR function? The AND function, for the AND function, all conditions, whether 3 or more, 2, 3, as many conditions as possible, all of them have to be true for it to return true. And if one of them isn't true, we are going to have false. That is the challenge. If all of them are true, we will have true, and if one is false, we will have false. In contrast, the OR function is not that strict. What I mean is this. Let me say I'm testing two conditions. If both of them are false, the OR function will return false, right? But if only one of them is false and the other is true, or let me say if only one of them is true, it will return true. So at least it needs one to be true for it to be true. Unlike the AND function, it doesn't need all of them to be true. One being true is enough for the OR function to return true. The only time it will return false is when all of them are false. If we have one true and the rest false, that doesn't matter. It will still return it true. So it is saying this is true, or this is true, or this is true. If I am having 3, 2 false, and 1 is true, it will return true. I am having 1 false, 2 true, true. All of them are true, fine, it will still return true. So it needs at least one to be true for it to return true. So let's look at an example here. The example here says we should select all females or people in the services sector. So two things. They have to be females or they have to be in the services sector. If we have only just females, it will return true. If we have only services sector, it will return true. If we have both of them true, true. If we have males in another sector, it will return false. So let us try that. So we come here and no need to wipe the column. It will override everything we've written there before. So this is the syntax. You start with your OR function. We start with the OR function and we say females in, that's the question, right? All females in the services sector, yeah. So where do we have our females? C. So C2 has to be F, and then E2 has to be what? No, not plus. Has to be services. Yep. So this or this. And once we hit our enter key, we have lots of true. right? We have so many truths, true, 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 because at least one has to be. So here we have females, even though it's liberal profession, it says true. Here we have services and females, fine. Services and females, fine. Females, true, 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 true. Here that we have false is because we have both of them false, male and not services. So it has to return false, and so on. Now, just as we did in the AND function, we can combine it with the IF function just to tell us something else. So that's just the reason why we combine with the if function, just to have more control over the output. Without the if function, we will just have only true and false returned. But to have more control over the output, we combine this with the if function. So let's say, what do we want? We will say, let's say selected. Yeah. Oh, it has to be in quotes, remember? So selected, and if not, as I said, I like leaving the blank. Let's leave it blank. And what do we have? So many selected, just a few here and there are not selected. Okay, cool. So let's try this other example. The example says identify donations greater than 8,000 or individuals from Sheffield. So we are saying people who made donations greater than 8,000 or they are from Sheffield. Probably we just want to have a get together with them. So it's either you are from Sheffield or you made a donation greater than 8,000. Let's add something else. Let's just say males. Let's say men who made donations greater than 8,000 or anyone from Sheffield. So men, donation. So it has to be both ways. Okay. I've added something else to this question. It's running something else in my brain, but let's leave that. So let's identify. I want to tweak this question a little bit. Let's leave it this way. So no, let me not say identify men. So identify all donations greater than 8,000 or anyone from Sheffield. Let's leave it the way it was before here. So we come over here and we say equal to or. Let's remember to zoom. Let me come over here and then we zoom in. So we have or donations greater than 8,000 or someone from Sheffield. Donations is G2, greater than, let's say greater than or equal to, let's say greater than, that's what we have in the question, so let's stick to that. Greater than 8,000 or the city I2 equals Sheffield. I hope that is spelled correctly, F-I-E-L-D, yes, correct. So either way, where we have any of those fulfilled, we have our answer. So here we have Manchester and donation is not greater than 8,000. So false. Here we have donation greater than 8,000, but this person is from Bristol. True. True. Sheffield less than 8,000, but because it's OR function, so you can add the if function to that and use it to control whatever output you want. All right, so you can try these examples on your own and let me know. Let us add a few exercises for every one of you out there to try. Supposed to have done this earlier, I didn't do it, so let's do it now. So exercises, let us say just 2 questions. Find out who joined earlier than 2000, earlier than the year 2000. Let's come up here. Than the year 2000 and lives in London. So the person has to have joined earlier than the year 2000 and lives in London. And let's look for something else. Let's say select everyone who is in the trading sector or lives in Bristol or joined in 2018. Yeah, let's have this 3. So the question says, identify everyone who is in the trading sector or lives in Bristol or joined in 2018. So either of these 3 combinations and we are good. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, be sure to ask me in the comment section. I'll be willing to attend to your questions. And if you have any contribution, if there's something else you feel I missed out in this tutorial, yeah, I feel I missed out something, but if you feel you know what it is, just let me know and I will be very willing to talk about it in the comment section. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful time and see you in the very next video. Bye.